Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Intentional Living with Emlah podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful week so far and you are ready to dive with me today into this episode where I am sitting with my friend, Quanishia Gibson. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to welcome Quanishia today. She is a licensed therapist whom we all need in our lives. And she's the founder of With Therapy. With basically spelled W-I-T-H, therapy, and which is an integrative mental health practice. This is the reason why she's a girl after my own heart. A mental health practice, but it's integrative. And her location is in downtown Columbus. And through her work, she helps women and couples get better understanding on relational patterns, identities, and experiences that shape how they love, connect with each other, and move through life. And what I love about her is that she works on you connecting with yourself first before connecting with other people. So her approach is thoughtful, intentional, and deeply aligned with building healthier relationships, both with ourselves and with others. This is why I'm attracted to you.
Thank you.
This is really why I'm attracted to you. So first of all, what inspired you to become a therapist?
Honestly, I began my work in, I would say, quote unquote, the healing sector as a writer. Back in 2016, I started publishing some of my writing online on Instagram.
Yes.
And I developed a huge following just for my writing. I also self-published a few books of poetry and folks started to read those books. And I hosted writing workshops where women would open up about all kinds of traumas and issues and concerns. And I was like, I do not have the capacity or the professional acumen to be able to guide you all further past the work that we're doing here. And after time, I was like, okay, I might as well go back to school and be able to support individuals from a more clinical perspective. And that is what kind of led me to getting into the field of mental health.
What a drive.
Yeah.
and this is the thing, I read somewhere that you cannot take people where you have not been. Like to have that emotional aptitude to be able to be a therapist.
Yeah.
I must assume that is heavy on you, is it?
It's heavy, but I also think it's the way that I get to not carry my work with me into every aspect of my life. Like you said, I've been through a lot of things in my own personal life with family, relationships, being a mother. I've been through my own things, but also it gives me the lens to be able to step outside of practice when I'm no longer in the office or at work. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that makes so much sense why you can be able to, because you started as a writer. So we're going to have a link to her Instagram in the show notes. You started as a writer and then decided to go back to school and further your career to be able to be a licensed professional therapist. Yeah. As a counselor. So now, generally, we interuse these words, therapist and counselor. Can you clarify a little bit about that?
I believe they're interchangeable.
Okay.
When we go to school and get our licensure, I'm an LPC, so that's licensed professional counselor. But the term therapist, it can be used cross-functionally.
Okay.
You know, herbal therapists
Yes.
or nutrition therapists.
Yes.
It can be used cross-functionally. I like it because I feel like it is more connective to clients and individuals who are just getting acclimated to therapy, but they're interchangeable. Counselor, same as therapist. The licensure, now that therapy is becoming more mainstream and it's becoming more accepted, the licensure is what matters. So ensuring that you're seeing a therapist who is actually licensed, a counselor who is actually licensed, those words are interchangeable, but yeah.
And so to know that they're licensed, when I went on your website, I saw about 6 counselors on there and they all have LPC behind their name. And what does that LPC stand for?
Licensed Professional Counselor. So this August, I'll be LPCC, Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor. And eventually I'll move on to get my supervision license, my S. And that is really kind of like the highest we can go within that capacity. But yeah.
I love that. I love that. And you have 6 different counselors at your practice. So people will have plenty to choose from.
6 counselors, 2 psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners.
I saw those,
and a dietitian.
and a dietitian.
Yes.
Whom I would love to have on a podcast. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's really interesting. I saw one of your advanced nurse practitioners, Val.
Yes.
I know him.
Oh, my
I do know Val.
goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you got to let him know that.
Oh,
Yes. So, and this is, what a small world.
yes.
What a small world. And so with therapy, tell us about with. What
yes.
does with stand for something that I don't know
Yes.
about?
That stands
Yes.
for welcoming, integration, transformation, and hope. And honestly, when I went to school,
Yes.
I knew that I wanted to get my license, but I also knew that I wanted to have an integrative approach to mental health.
Yes.
Because so many people have stigmas around mental health, I thought it was important to develop a practice that included the social aspect. When you talk about intentional living,
Yes.
we include the social aspect. We have classes for movement and journaling. We have those types of things going on in the space, but we also have a dietitian you can work with to understand the connectivity between your gut health and your mental health. And then we have the psych nurses to normalize medication so that individuals aren't as afraid to utilize them in their mental health.
Oh my goodness. You just touched my heart in a very special place because there's so much polarity in our healthcare system right now. I am for medications. I'm not for medications. I'm only natural. Oh, I don't want to put something foreign in my body. Oh, this, and I'm for GLP-1. I'm not for GLP-1. I'm for this. I don't want to take sertraline. I don't want to take Prozac. So it is like, how can we be in the middle as providers in a space where we're welcoming everybody and we're knowing that, for some people, we absolutely need medication. For some people, they could do without medication, but it has to be on an individualized platform. Like you have to be able to take care of each person as they come. Some people have higher risk. Some people are much further gone.
Yeah.
And some people, supplements are not going to cut it. Some people need surgery. Some people, it's just... I love that. You just touched me in a very specific place.
Thank you.
So, but my question that I want to ask you is, you talk about relational patterns. What are relational patterns? Like, what does that actually mean in everyday life?
I am of the belief, and this is part of the work that I do and some of the research that I'm currently doing, I am of the belief that a lot of our mental health concerns also stem from relational issues or relational concerns. We talk about childhood trauma. We talk about our relationships to parents and family, even kinship in the mental health field. All of that plays a part into how we function relationally as adults and how we socialize, how we integrate different things like wellness or mental health into our day-to-day. I believe that relationships are really at the core of a lot of our mental health concerns. And when those things are transformed, we can have better outcomes too.
That is so true. And it's just hard until somebody else points it or opens our eyes and our mind to see that. Because a lot of us don't see how our early experiences can shape who we are as adults. What has been one of a very eye-opening experience you have seen, in your work, to see how somebody's adulthood has been shaped tremendously by their childhood?
I would say, and I predominantly work with African American clients, so I'm speaking from that perspective.
Yes.
I would say dating culture, marriage culture, the fear of actually being in those types of substantial long-term relationships because of what they've been conditioned to by way of media, by way of their family, by way of seeing their parents go through relationship. I think some of the most eye-opening work I have done is helping people to understand what relationship actually is, why it's important to us in our overall health, and then also to just debunk a lot of the myths around what relationship is supposed to look like. A lot of people think that they can't have conflict. If you have a conflict with someone, the relationship has to end or go. And I'm just doing a lot of work to just unpack that and transform people's minds around relationship.
That is really, because we tend to confuse a healthy relationship with a familiar relationship. So what are some ways that you help your clients differentiate what a healthy relationship is with a familiar relationship?
I think when we talk about internal family systems and just like nuclear family,
Yes.
especially growing up African American, we
Yes.
have a lot of enmeshment in our families. Everybody is in everybody's business,
Yeah.
has a say so in everything.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the work that I do is around boundary setting, is around self-identity, helping you understand who you are outside of a relationship with your
Mhm.
mom or your partner or your siblings. I think a lot of the work is about boundary setting and then also just identity exploration.
She said boundary setting. That just sparked something in me. Can you talk a little bit more about boundary setting? Because that's something that we are typically aware that we have to set boundaries, but it is really difficult to actually set them. And even if we get through with setting them, it's more difficult to implement them consistently.
Yeah.
Any tips, any tricks, any mantras?
One thing that I like to remind people, and I forget where I heard this from, but it is that boundaries are for you, not the other person. It is about nervous system regulation.
Gibson.
And sometimes we fear putting boundaries in place because we fear hurting someone else. But also you have to think about, how do I feel when I don't have a boundary in place? What types of reactions am I having when I am abandoning myself or what I actually want? And so thinking about a boundary as a guide rail for helping you feel regulated, helping your nervous system feel safe inside of relationships, as opposed to something that's damaging the relationship, is actually helping the relationship.
I can listen to you all day long. I feel like I'm in therapy right now. So this boundary is for me, and I'm not setting the boundary to hurt somebody else. And so I should not feel guilty setting a boundary and implementing my boundary.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I need you to call me every day and remind me of that. Can you do that?
I can.
That is so beautifully said. I love the way you just, it's like you're a therapist or something like that. I love that. I love that. Another word that we talk about a lot and really have difficult time implementing, especially as women, is vulnerability.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And when we talk about vulnerability, one, is difficult to define. Two, it's unclear where that vulnerability is. Are you just letting everybody use you, or are you just not being assertive enough, especially as high-performing women? Or it's difficult. How do you navigate when you see women in your practice who have a difficult time with vulnerability?
I would implore women to ask, what are the parts of myself that I'm afraid of other people seeing? And explore
hold
that.
on. What did you just say?
I would implore women to ask, what are the parts of myself that I am afraid of other people seeing? And explore that. Why are you afraid of other people seeing this? What are you protecting behind this? That gets us to a place of exploring what actual vulnerability is for us, because like you said, it's complex and that can be different for different people. Vulnerability for me might be sharing more about my childhood or my upbringing. Vulnerability to someone else might be letting a friend in on their relationship struggles with a partner, etc. So what are you afraid of other people seeing, and how can you begin to let people into that space in a way that isn't protective or that doesn't diminish your relationship with yourself?
That's a very soul-searching question, and a lot of people don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So, but with the guide of a counselor, it's easier to go there. That's amazing. So what are the parts of me that I'm afraid to let other people see?
Yeah.
And then you start exploring from there. That's very insightful. When you do that, you're able to build a better relationship with yourself. And then that leads to building better relationships with other people.
Yeah.
So what do you see as a hallmark of building relationships? What do you see in people among your clients who are really good with building relationships, or you've helped them get to a point where they're really good with building relationships and maintaining those relationships? What are the main differences that you see with them and people who struggle building and sustaining good relationships?
I think that that's a complex answer too, but I would say two of the things that I see in individuals who are able to have healthy relationship with others is a sense of self-identity. Not to say you're going to know yourself fully,
Mm-hmm.
but you know who you are, what you contribute to relationships. You know how to set boundaries because you know what you want and you know
Yes.
what you don't tolerate or accept. And so you can
Yes.
articulate that, and you can have healthy relationships because you're not afraid to articulate that.
Mm.
I would say the other thing that I see as a hallmark of healthy relationship
Mm-hmm.
is the reality piece. And I say this, and I'll get to the question that you
Yes.
asked
Yes.
me
Uh-huh.
before, but I say reality because we have so many misconceptions about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reality of your relationship currently? What is the reality of your upbringing, your past traumas? What is the reality of what you actually want out of relationship? And so being able to have conversations from a real and honest place with your partner, your parent, whomever, I
Mm-hmm.
think makes relationships healthier all around.
The reality, which
Mhm.
is sometimes very hard to define.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like you have me scanning like different realities of all my different relationships now.
Yeah.
So building like you talk about building inner relationships first.
Mhm.
What has been one of the essential hallmarks that you help people build within themselves before they step out to build those relationships outside, like back to inside themselves? What is that?
Self-awareness, I would say, that is key. We talk about that in therapy all throughout school and our
Mm-hmm.
clinical work, just as clinicians being able to be self-aware. How can we do good work if we aren't self-aware?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also say, how can you be a good friend, a good partner, a good parent if you aren't self-aware? I have to be able to acknowledge what I'm possibly doing wrong, what
Yes.
I'm doing right, what I am not able to contribute to a relationship, what
Mm-hmm.
capacity I have to give. And so being self-aware, I think, is a hallmark.
Well, being self-aware means that we're able to accept
Mm-hmm.
where our shortcomings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's hard.
Yeah, it is. Very hard.
That's hard. How do you help people get to a point where they're comfortable accepting their shortcomings?
Whew, that's a it's a lot of work, and it doesn't happen overnight. I'm
It
going to
does
say
not.
that.
Yes.
We talk about motivational change in
Mm.
therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a process. There's the pre-contemplation phase where
Mm-hmm.
you're just starting to consider an issue or what is wrong. Then there's contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
You're still considering, but maybe you have more of an awareness. Then you get to places like being able to take action and
Mm-hmm.
moving forward on progressing towards a resolution for whatever issue there is. So I would say knowing how to consider where you are and if you're actually ready for change or ready for progress and transformation is super important.
This podcast is sponsored by Journeys, your path to intentional wellness. Are you feeling fatigue, brain fog, low energy levels, and suspicion of inflammation? Most health problems don't start overnight, and neither does wellness. With Journeys, you can take charge of your health before you have to. Every cell in your body is whispering to you. But when we ignore preventive medicine, we wait until those cells are screaming. Journeys helps you listen to the whispers. There are 3 different lab test bundles to choose from. Starting at $199 up to $479, we measure up to 125 biomarkers, most that are typically not measured at your annual wellness visit. Normal labs is not a diagnosis. We get the most complete view, including hormones, nutrient markers that support energy, balance, and healthy aging. Each journey includes a personalized recommendation, one-on-one care from your pharmacist, and follow-up support to turn results into lasting intentional change. It's more than data. It's guidance, accountability, and a partner in your wellness journey. Intentional living means paying attention, staying curious, and taking steps towards the health you deserve. Start your journeys today. Click the link in the show notes. You know, when I came to visit you, I sat in your space and I noticed there was a stillness that came over me. Right now in our world, we get so busy that it's really hard for people to have the time to sit with themselves and to sit still and to meditate or to be quiet, to be able to allow that self-awareness to rise. And you've done a beautiful job about this. Your space is beautiful. It's like calming. Like
Thank you.
my mindset like changes when I walk in.
Thank you.
So I think of this, how for people who are not coming into the office to see you, and we will put a link or to with therapy and at the show notes so that anybody can be able to reach out to you and make an appointment with you or any of your providers at your clinic. But here's the thing: what can we do today to increase self-awareness? What can we do today to help us sit still with ourselves enough to be self-aware? What are some action items that we can help, that listeners can help today themselves?
Start small, and I think that meditation and what we call solitude, self-awareness, all of that has been so commercialized that we
Yes.
forget how accessible it is to us. It can just be about choosing to sit in silence for 5 minutes. Start there. Like, it's something as small as that. Turning off your phone and journaling for 10 minutes before bed. Having intentional time to sit without noise and disruption from the rest of the world is important. And I think we have access to that all day, throughout the day, if we are intentional about making that time.
And that actually gives us some dopamine. There's reward in that time. But what has changed it for us is that now we have social media, now we have music, now we have all the things that distract us, that give us quick fixes of dopamine for doing nothing in 1 or 2 seconds. We scroll through Instagram, we scroll through Facebook, and we get that quick fix of dopamine. So our brain is prioritizing that over sitting down with ourselves for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, meditating and journaling to be able to get that dopamine that comes from there. So we're like, oh, I need dopamine. We all need dopamine, but we can get it quickly from watching a YouTube video, a short, or TikTok, rather than, sitting still with myself. And what are the long-term benefits of that? Like, it is... this is a conversation I had with my son just a few days ago, and we're talking about the sources of dopamine and prioritizing those sources. Just, sitting with yourself and journaling. If you've not done that before, it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
And if you sit down to meditate, what happens in your mind?
Yeah. It can be very hard for people starting out, which is why I say make it a practice. Anything can become a practice. Just give yourself time. And since we are so attached to and connected to our phone, use your phone as a reminder, as a calendar of sorts, to plan out the time for you to have silent moments, solitude, meditative moments. Like, plan it out. Just put it on the calendar. Set an alarm.
I love that you said use your phone. So I know that you have a meditation room at your practice, and you have these classes, journaling, meditation classes. So when people come to these classes and you teach them how to meditate, how to journal, and things like that, what are your thoughts on some of the meditating apps that we have out there? What do you have to say about that as a counselor?
I believe they can be beneficial, but there are so many digital tools that are being created that can be beneficial, but we are not educating people enough on how to utilize them, or even ensuring that they are at the place where they can utilize them to their full capacity. It's like, yes, I can suggest my client use a meditation app every day, but if she's not ready, or if she's already having racing thoughts every day and not even sure how to sit down and have time to herself, how can she get to a place of utilizing an app more consistently? I talk about the readiness for change and the motivation to change. It's like you still have to be at a place where you are ready to take action when you're utilizing digital tools as well. And so I can download 5 or 10 apps and not use them.
Yeah, everybody can, and download those apps, and they're on the phone, and we're not using them on a consistent basis, and not because you're not in the mind space yet. What is one of the most common things you see when people come to you for counseling? What is one of the most common problems that people come to you for?
The most common, I would say, which is really why this is my niche, and I've enjoyed kind of niching down into this, is relationship problems. And I say this because I am seeing individuals who have PTSD, but those things were started by a domestic violence relationship or an abusive relationship with a parent. I see people who have acute stress, and that is because of a psychologically abusive relationship, or something that is happening in the day-to-day relationship as a parent, not being able to set boundaries, etc. A lot of it is relational, and I think that is why I lean more towards helping people to have better relationships, because relationship trauma is real, and then also just the inability to function because of relationships is a major thing.
I'm so happy that we're talking about this because a lot of people have not, come to terms with the fact that, you know what, a therapist or a counselor is one of those people you absolutely need on your team.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, in my head, everybody has a counselor, everybody has a therapist. Yes. And that's the world I have in my head. And that's the
Yes.
world where you need somebody like that on your board of governors to help you
Mm-hmm.
direct your show, which is your
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody needs somebody to be able to help them, guide them, because there are lots of things that we have, we just can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Looking from inside and looking really close, but somebody else,
Yes.
listening and getting, especially somebody who is trained and has a licensure,
Yeah.
clinically trained to be able to help us to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people too are deterred from therapy and counseling because of cost.
Yes.
A lot of people are not aware that you can build insurance. So talk about cost and talk about insurance at your practice. How do you overcome this barrier?
Yes, so we currently accept Medicaid, which is very very much utilized by a lot of our
Yes.
clients,
Mm-hmm.
especially being located downtown Columbus.
Yes.
We get a lot of individuals who
Mm-hmm.
are on Medicaid or who
Yes.
live in proximity to that
Yes.
area. So Medicaid, we also accept most all major insurances,
Mm-hmm.
which is important because I do believe that having insurance as an attribution to those payment options is beneficial. And then we also offer a sliding scale. So if you have insurance, but you have a deductible to meet, or if you are trying to pay out of pocket and you just don't have the means, we'll send over a form so that you can complete a sliding scale form. We get to understand your financial situation, your family makeup, all those things to work with you on something that is a little bit more accessible so that you are able to get care. And then we also accept things like EAP. A lot of people don't know about their employee assistance programs. We can utilize that. Your job will give you 4, 6, 10 sessions with a licensed therapist. Another thing, I have a friend, her name is Rachel Cargill.
Mm-hmm.
She is the founder of the Loveland Foundation. They give vouchers to African American women to get 12 free sessions of therapy annually. And so that is very important. I have a client who utilizes that, and it just gives people the opportunity to get access to therapy when they wouldn't otherwise have that access.
Makes my heart so happy.
Yeah.
It makes my heart so happy to be able to have access to therapy for as many people as possible, whether you're Medicaid, private insurance, whether you're using vouchers or cash pay, however.
Mm-hmm.
But just to make sure that you see somebody who is as dedicated to your mental health and your future well-being just as you are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart is
Thank
happy.
you.
So I'm just, is there anything special you would like the audience to know about with therapy?
I would say that the thing that makes us special is that we bring a non-clinical approach to a very clinical space. And I pride myself and our clinicians pride themselves on the clinical aspect of the work. I think a lot of people think about therapy and they think that they're just going to come in and talk to someone and we're just going to constantly spin circles around their problems. But no, we are bringing a clinical aspect to your mental health and well-being, and also considering what types of knowledge you might need. What might you need to learn about mental health from a licensed professional that you might not have otherwise known? And so we are we're very committed to bring that clinical aspect of mental health into the space, but also we want to be human. We want to show you that we're human, which is why our space is designed the way it is, not to be a clinical space. You go into many behavioral health agencies or mental health practices and it's just like gray walls and gray chairs and you're just
I love your space. If you do yourself a favor, if you're listening to this, visit her space. It is beautiful. It is so calming, so welcoming. And my visit with her at her session, at her clinic was over, and I was like, I want to stay here. I just want to enjoy it's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's lovely. Thank you so much for coming on today and telling us about with therapy and answering all the questions that I had for you. You have a way of with words that makes me so happy. And just listening to you, like I'm calm down. I'm normally like rush, talk. And when listening to you, and I'm like, Emlah, sit down. Take a deep breath and just listen to her. Your words are very soothing.
Thank you.
So I do appreciate you for that. And it is time for one of my favorite sections of this podcast episode that it is time for Supplement School with Emlah. So there are no exams on this Supplement School with Emlah. So what supplement is on your mind? What are you thinking about?
I am going to bring up iron.
That's an interesting one. I've recently been seeing a lot of people talk about iron.
Yes.
Do you have any specific concerns about iron, or what makes iron come to your mind?
It comes to my mind, one, because my mom is anemic. I have been anemic before, and low iron is something that runs in my family a bit, but also I get a lot of women who come in and they are dealing with iron issues. And so we're trying to understand that connection between low iron and mental health, but also just what can we do to support the well-being of our clients and just people in our families by having more education about iron and its importance.
I love that. The thing with iron is that, we usually go for our annual wellness visit, and your hemoglobin is measured, your hematocrit is measured, and just your general CBC with differential, and they just measure those basic things. But then typically your ferritin is typically not measured, and the ferritin is your iron stores. The ferritin is the iron store. So I always think about it in like an analogy I use when I explain to my patients is think of it like the pantry. So if you were to visit me at my home, I'm going to prepare a nice meal for you. And I'm going to go into the pantry. I'm going to scrape, figure out what I can add one on one, put together a recipe, put together a nice meal for you. And you sit down, you come visit and you eat, but you don't see what's in the pantry. I probably struggled to put that together.
Yeah.
So if your ferritin, so I recently took care of a patient whose ferritin was like 17.
Okay.
And the range for ferritin is 16. For her range was 16 to like 230. So even if her ferritin was measured, it will be within the green because she is 17. Think about that range, 16 all the way to 232. That's a big range. So with her being at 17, she probably is considered normal in quotations, but she's feeling horrible. She's thinning hair, fatigue, low mood, low energy, all that because of that low ferritin. So when somebody comes in with fatigue, brain fog, low energy levels, I usually start thinking of ferritin levels. In addition to B12, I usually check B12, check vitamin D, and then also the ferritin.
Okay.
So we do all this in the panel that I was sharing with you earlier, the Journeys panel. Yeah. So with her ferritin being 17, no wonder she had low mood. No wonder she was fatigued. She said she could fall asleep anywhere. She goes, Emlah, I'd be sitting in my car waiting for my child to come out, as she's going to pick up her child at school, and she will fall asleep.
Wow.
And she goes, I could fall asleep anyway. I'm so tired all the time. Midday. I'm like, no wonder you're tired all the time. The little ferritin in your body, your body is preserving it just to keep you alive. So it's sending the little ferritin that you have to your heart, to your brain, just to the vital organs. And that's why her hair, she goes, Emlah, the amount of hair I've lost in the past year, she's taken all the things. She's taken Nutrafol, she's taken collagen, biotin, she's taking all the things. Wow. But her hair kept falling out. I go, you can take all that stuff, but your hair is not going to grow because your ferritin carries the heart of the red blood cell. The ferritin has that red blood cell part that carries the heme ion, carries oxygen around. So there's no ferritin to take oxygen to your brain.
Wow.
There's no to take oxygen to your hair cells. So your body's going to prioritize vital organs, and that's why your hair is falling. So if you replenish your ferritin, that energy level will come back and your hair is going to grow. So, and the only other problem with taking iron is that when the ferritin is low, people are like, oh, my doctor asked me to take iron. And then they go to the store, the first iron they see is ferrous sulfate. And about 80% of people who start taking ferrous sulfate constipation is the next thing.
Wow.
So ferrous sulfate causes constipation. The salt form is not highly absorbable. It sits in your gut and causes constipation. So people stop taking the iron because of the constipation, or they're like, oh, I'll take it with vitamin C, or I'll take it with orange juice, to increase absorption, but you're still having constipation. So my resolve or my solution to that is to give them ferrous bisglycinate, which is a chelated salt form of iron, which has better absorption and doesn't cause constipation.
Wow.
So with that, I give them Gentle Iron. I really named it. So we'll put a link in the show notes to Emlah Naturals Gentle Iron, which is a ferrous bisglycinate, which has a better absorption and doesn't cause the constipation. And also, I also give a handout of iron-rich foods. And I'm sure that your nutritionist will be all over this.
Yeah.
But, what foods are you going to put on your plate that are rich in iron? Heme iron and non-heme iron. There's a difference on, how much is available for our body and which ones you can prioritize based on if you're a vegetarian or if you're a meat eater and things like that. So those are the things that we address. And somebody will not walk in and just buy iron. I don't sell iron just to anybody. I have to see your ferritin levels first.
Wow, that's good.
I have to. We have to see. That's a power pharmacy. We have to see your ferritin levels before we give you iron. Like, you can just walk in and buy iron. We want to see that blood work has been done, because the therapeutic range for iron, we don't want you to give you too much iron and you go above. That's why a lot of multivitamins don't have iron in them.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's the reason why a lot of people are anemic too.
Interesting.
So we have to really be paying attention to this. So don't get me started on iron. So we'll put a link in the show notes and a link to put to the Journeys test, so people can actually test their ferritin levels, and so that way they can be able to know about this and be able to live better. It has been phenomenal sitting down with you. And I just want everybody to share this episode with friends, family, anybody that you have a potential of having a relationship with. And that's your friends. Those are your family members. Please share this episode so that we learn more how to build those integral relationships that keep us going, and that positive social connections pillar. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you very much, and continue to live each day with gratitude and intention.